Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Revival of America podcast. This is Jenny. I am the owner and the host of the Revival of America. Today we have Dallas in the house, everybody. So please, if you have a question for Dallas, feel free to raise your hand and I will unmute your mic at some point in this podcast. Otherwise, if you cannot ask your question to Dallas, raise your hand, or not raise your hand, write your comment under his picture on the wall. Not comment, excuse me, question, and I will read those at some point as well. Hopefully, Dallas has some good news for us. Last week, he had to cancel our show because he was waiting for this important call. I think he got some good information. I don't know if it was the call, but I'll let him share that with you. Also, too, everybody, please be careful who you listen to and who you follow. Things are happening in a very positive way, a lot of winning, a lot of stuff going on in our favor, but there's a lot of noise, a lot of uh, division, hate, name calling, red pilling, or not red pilling, black pilling, doom and gloom. All that stuff is going on, everybody, and it's really unfortunate. But it's happening, and it's happening very in a huge way in on different platforms. So please just stick and stay with the 3 to 5 people that haven't led you wrong through the course of your journey here, everybody, because more than likely they're going to get you through this. If you feel like you're in a space or in a chat or somewhere that you're just not getting a good vibe, get out of there, guys. Get out of the noise, stay out of the noise. It could be a very big mind, you know what. So please, I encourage you guys, I implore you to just stick with what you resonate with, right? And we say this all the time. So, and I'm going to tell everybody here about my channel. If you're in my channel, I welcome you here. I'm glad you're here. But if you're one of those people that requests to come in and we approve you, then you leave and then you request to come back in. Because what I'm seeing, everybody, people are requesting to come in, they leave to request to come back in within a couple hours, the next day, whatever it may be. So to me, that's a red flag. And because of everything that I'm learning and finding out, all these agitators, trolls, and they've been out there for a long time, but they're in full force right now. I am going to protect my channel, my guests, myself, and you as the members. So if you're here, stay. But if you guys leave, you're more than likely going to get removed from the channel where you can't get back in because it just is a red flag. And I'm sorry, but too many people have sent me their stories about them being scammed by people, pretending whether they're being me, Dallas, Captain Kyle, whomever it may be, because unfortunately we do have those imposters. But this is how I run my channel. I know I'm not going to get, keep all of them out, but I'm going to do my damnedest to keep everybody in here as safe as I can because it's really horrifying, these stories that I get. And so I just don't want you guys to fall for that. And if you guys at this point in the game, after all the times that we tell you that we're never going to reach out to you and ask you if you're ready for the scare event, finances, crypto, or anything like that, and if you guys fall for it at this point, because we tell you all the time, that's on you. So this is why I tell you all the time, please be careful who you're listening to and what you're following, and know that I won't randomly reach out to you. So please, everybody, be careful because we're going to see more craziness here coming through the summer and as we get to the end of the summer and maybe the end of the year. But just buckle up, everybody, because we're closer than ever, I do believe, to the end of this horror show. Well, I mean, it depends on how you look at it. I look at a lot of things that are happening that are amazing, but I'm also seeing a lot of stuff and a lot of people that are being exposed, which is a good thing as well. So hang on, everybody. We're in for a ride. Also, everybody, we're being listened to in over 100 countries, and we are making some great positive noise. So if you come into this podcast link, you can listen to us on the podcast host, which are iHeartRadio, Spotify, Anchor, Apple, Google, Breaker, Pocket Cast, Podbean, Riverside, Amazon Music. The social medias are Jenny Jareed Facebook, at Jenny_Jareed X, at J Jareed Rumble, at J Jareed Instagram, at J Jareed True Social, The Revival of America right here on Telegram, The Revival of America on YouTube, and TikTok is at the official J Jareed. The 3 that are not verified are TikTok, True Social, and YouTube. I'm still waiting for the verification, so I'll keep you posted on those. But these are my legitimate accounts, everybody. All my other accounts are verified, so you guys know that that is me, okay? So please, everybody, be careful. And if you get a random message, email saying it's me, it's not me, let me know, block, report them, and I will do the same. And once you let me know, then that way I can make sure that they're not in this channel as well. Also, too, everybody, so for the stories and the journeys that I encourage you guys, if you want to have your voice heard and your story heard, I created a separate email for those because a lot of the emails that were coming in for your journeys and your stories, unfortunately, they're getting buried underneath my just regular emails at the Revival of America at yahoo.com. So send them to TROA submissions at yahoo.com, which TROA stands for the Revival of America. So TROA submissions at yahoo.com. And we're going to vet your stories, everybody, because we do, and it's crazy, but this is how some people are, right? We do get some scammers in there giving us some bullshit stories. So we will vet your stories, and just give us a little synopsis of what it is, and we'll vet it. We'll reach out to you, we'll talk to you, and then we'll go from there. But everybody, when I say share your journeys and stories, it's you, your voice that's going to share the journey or the story that you want to share and have been wanting to share. Not me, because I want the people to hear your voices and your stories, because it's you and your stories, your voices, your stories that are going to help shape this new world that we're coming into, everybody. So please don't be afraid to use your voice. It's time to speak loud and proud, because the world we're coming into wants to know the truth, right? So I encourage you all to do that. And last but certainly not least, everybody, go to the revivalofamerica.com, sign up for the newsletter. It is free. This way you will get the latest updates on the podcast, as well as the weekly show lineups, guest times, etc. So that comes out typically early Monday morning for that whole week. And next week, everybody, I will be traveling. So Monday, there will not be any shows. I am going to be getting 107 back on. It's probably going to be next Wednesday. So we'll have Captain Kyle, SG Anons coming on. Troy's coming on again with the XRP, of course, Field and John Baxter. So with that, everybody, we have Dallas in the house. I'm not going to take up any more of your time with my PSAs, but I think they're very important. So welcome, Dallas. What's up, my friend?
Hey, that's an amazing PSA, by the way. I don't know if you write that down or if you just rip that off of memory every week, but it is amazing and it's so spot on.
That is no, it's not scripted. It's just it's something that I did in the beginning, and then it just now it just comes like, water off the tongue.
No, it's so good, it's so great, and it's so true. And it's I I gotta be honest, I love being on this show with you, and when I have to cancel, oh my gosh, it literally it tears me up because one, I I don't take pride in a lot of things because I try not to be a very prideful person, but I take great pride in being a man of my word. And when I say I'm going to do something, I do everything I can to do it, or to uphold my word. And if I fail, it's not because I didn't give it everything I had. It's because I just wasn't able to accomplish whatever that promise or that goal was. But I felt horrible last week. But I I got uh, I got noticed literally about 40 minutes before our show at 3 p.m. Central, that I needed to be on a Zoom. And well, what was it, a Zoom? So,
Yeah, I think you said it was a Zoom call.
yeah. It was a call of some kind. I can't remember now. I have so many things, um, but I just couldn't miss it. Like I needed, I didn't know what it was necessarily, but I also couldn't afford to not be present. So I very much apologize, but I also appreciate your flexibility and all that. And I appreciate everybody that tunes in, and for everybody that had set time apart and set time aside to tune in last week and then we're disappointed. I'm very, very sorry. I try really hard not to do that, but I'm here, and I'm excited, and I'm ready to rock and roll. I mean, I don't want to. I don't really have anything random to say, but we'll dive into this, and 'cause I'm sure it will come up.
Well, I want to say to you, always no worries, family first, other, because we're doing this in our free time, right? So I can't really hold you like, you got to be here. No, no, I'm not like that at all. SG's had things that come up too. So, I totally get it. I have things that come up. So, and I believe the audience is very understanding with that as well. So, no, we appreciate you, Dallas. And, I'm glad you're here, and you're always here. You're always spot on. I don't think you've ever missed a show unless you've had, something come up with the family or, work purposes. So, I mean, you're good. Never, no apologies needed, my friend. I'm just really glad you're here. And, I mean, can you speak on your call that you got? I think you mentioned to me you got a little bit of good news, but it was a little bit of the phone call you were maybe waiting for, but not maybe so much. Is that correct?
Well, yeah, I mean, let's be honest, right? I mean, the phone or the call we all want, or the email we all want, or the notification we all want, is that big beautiful, hey, you have money, or here's your appointment to get money, and it's not about money, but I say that in a lot of jest, but um, it was not that call, right? But it was a very positive call of it was a very it was a call of affirmation that all of this work, right? And my wife makes fun, well, she doesn't make fun of me, she kind of gets mad at me, but like i i I call this my work. I have been working on this plan and on this moment in human history, specifically for the last 5 or 6 years, and I call it an investment because it's a speculative investment in foreign currency. But I've been working so diligently to find the truth and to learn the truth and to discern the truth through all of the muck, right? I almost use a different word, but I'm gonna do a little PSA of my own here.
Absolutely.
Um, that I have been on calls recently where the word guru is becoming well, it is a four-letter word, but it's becoming a negative four-letter word in the mouths of certain people and certain groups. Um, and I get it to an extent, but something that became very um painfully evident to me on Monday, because I was on another call Monday where the word guru was used, and I am about 99.99% sure that it was aimed at me because I was on the call. Um, and then it was used in kind of a derogatory way. And first and foremost, I am not a guru. I never have been. I've never called myself that. I've never considered myself to be a guru, especially in the currency world, right? But um, something that I had said on Monday, and I'll repeat it here, um, was brought up in this call to kind of vet what I'd said. Now, my name was not mentioned, but again, context is very important, and I'm better than average at reading context and putting the clues together. And it was, well, a guru made this statement. Can you verify or vet the statement? And I had literally just said it, like 4 hours earlier, on my hero podcast with Trina, and I just, you know, everybody that was on that particular call wouldn't be on that call if it wasn't for the gurus, right? And I'm using air quotes, whether it be Mark Z or Frank 26 or Shelton or Bruce or even Wolverine or any of these other people that have been in this market or this movement for, some have been in it a few years, I mean, I didn't come into the picture until 4.5 years ago. I knew about it, but to be honest with you, I thought it was a scam when I learned about it 13 or 14 years ago. um but if it wasn't for the gurus, and I'm using air quotes again, then none of us would, the vast majority of us wouldn't be here. We wouldn't be having these conversations. If it wasn't for Charlie Ward, if it wasn't for um uh oh, Tomahawk, I'd um shoot, Scott McKay, 107, right? Um, we wouldn't be in these calls. We wouldn't be getting the truth. And I just, it's one of those things where I had to call the organizer of the call, and I had to say, I'm not crying. I'm not bitching. I'm moaning, but everybody seems to be getting kind of negative on the gurus. And if it wasn't for the gurus, and again, I'm using air quotes every time I use that word because I think it's kind of a silly word, but um, nobody would be on that call, you know. So we just got to be careful how we talk about people. But um, that's my little PSA, right? Now, have they all been wrong? Absolutely. And I mean wrong by it hasn't happened, right? But um, we wouldn't even know about Dinar. We wouldn't even know about Zim. We wouldn't even know about Dong and Boulevard and Golden Dragons. We wouldn't even, this wouldn't even be a concept that any of us know about if it wasn't for people, whether you call them a guru or you label them a guru or not, discussing this stuff. And so, you know, gotta cut a little slack where slack is needed. Right now, I have said on this podcast many times, anybody that claims to know definitive this date, this time, you know, and that's they don't know, because what I have learned through this journey and this work that I put in is that people at the very highest level that I have the fortune to communicate with or to hear from or to be included in some of these calls, nobody knows the definitive end all be all date, process, numbers, values. It is all speculative, and which is why it's called a speculative investment. It's all speculative until it actually happens, until we get some kind of notification to where we can go into a redemption center or a bank or call a group or whatever, and we actually turn. Sorry, my dogs are barking at the UPS guy. Um, until we have that opportunity to actually physically turn something in and get some kind of monetary payment back, we don't know, right? And nobody does. And I feel blessed to be included in some circles of people that again claim, because I'm not in the meetings, right? But claim to be in some of the highest level meetings on the planet, and they have been wrong just like everyone else has been wrong. And when I say wrong, I mean they make a statement and we wait, and that date or that time or that period of time comes and goes, and we're like, well, crap, what happened? And things change. So if somebody claims to have some kind of weird definitive end all be all information and they cannot back it up with money in hand, then you got to take it with a grain of salt. But it is coming. And if I can say anything from the call, it was a very positive call. Things are progressing. This was a pretty pivotal week. Monday and Tuesday, some pretty big things happened. In the world of this exchange. And as you were commenting, there are some crazy, amazing, somewhat scary things happening in the geopolitical realm right now. Like in the last 4 or 5 days, huge things have changed. Sunday, Trump tweets out, or truths, I don't know what you call it, truths out that Joe Biden was executed in 2020, and it's been a clone or a double or a mask for the last 4 years. That's the sitting president of the United States on his own platform, truth that out, and it's been verified, it's been vetted. And the first thing I did was go straight to Donald Trump's Truth Social page, and boom, there it was, right there, right? Um, we have all this craziness going on with Ukraine bombing Russia, and then the next day they show up to a meeting like nothing happened. Like I told the story today on the noon show on PPN. That'd be like my neighbor throwing a rock through my window with a note tied on it, saying who they are and that I suck. And then the next day we're supposed to go to the barbecue at the other neighbor's house, and we just walk up to each other, hand me a beer or a soda or something, and we cheers and we go eat some brisket. Right? Like that doesn't make any sense. We got all this chaos happening in the Middle East where, last night I was reading reports where there were like 4 countries getting ready to bomb Israel. And of course, Israel's shooting off rockets first, but we have congressional cabinet members' offices being raided because they're harboring, either illegal immigrants or protesters, and then they find all of this war technology, which includes drones, launch codes, detonation codes, and all this. I mean, there is so much information that has just come out in the last week, and that call that I was on didn't really reference the geopolitical stuff, but it's all tied together, right? It's all a part of this moment in time. And the call was pretty optimistic. No money has changed hands yet that that I can verify. There's no money in my account, but things seem to be really moving finally for the first time. And money has been moving in the highest levels, but they've been doing little tests here, little tests there. Accounts have been um, uh, build, right, where you can see the money is in there, but it's not released, right? Kind of like if you've ever deposited a big check, right? Somebody writes you a $5,000 check or a $10,000 check, you put it in the bank. Well, you can see it in your account, but you can't access it because it says pending, right? And they do the bank thing where they hold it for 10 or 15 days, and then all of a sudden you get this notice that it was cleared and now you can draw the money out. Well, that process has been taking place for months at the highest levels to test the system, to weed out the corruption that is so vast in this world, that it has been a monumental undertaking to find all the corruption and all the dirt bags and all the cabal, wannabes. The movie Captain America, Hydra is the bad guys, and it's kind of, they call it the Fourth Reich. It's the Nazis, because again, Nazis are always bad, um, at least in our modern history. But they were tentacles. That's why it was called the Hydra, right? Because they had multiple arms and those little suckers. So the call was very positive. I believe things are legitimately moving forward. What is the time frame? I honestly, I couldn't tell you, but I can tell you that I'm very excited, and I'm pretty pumped about the rest of this month being pretty pivotal, and money moving down far enough through the system, and the system being turned on fully to where it can trickle downhill, because it's kind of like a big waterfall. In Hawaii, I think it's on Maui, but there's a national park called the Seven Falls, right? And it's a national park in Hawaii where you can go, and there's seven big waterfalls, and you can hike up to most of them, if not all of them. But the water cascades from one waterfall into another pool, and that pool fills up, and then it flows over another waterfall, and that flows into another pool, and that pool fills up, and that's basically what we're kind of witnessing, or we're waiting on right now, is we're at the bottom. We're at the bottom of the seventh fall, and we don't get any water until it fills all those other pools and fills up enough to where it overflows into the next pool and into the next pool. But I am optimistic, and I'm pretty positive that things are actually legitimately moving. I just don't know how long it's going to take to get to the seventh pool. Does that make sense?
Yes, it makes sense 100%. It's a process. Everything that's going on is a process. So it makes 100% sense, Dallas, for sure. Thank you. Sorry. I was a little bit
No.
distracted over here, but yes, it makes 100% sense. And I tell my audience the same thing, that, everything is a process. We didn't get like this overnight. And, things are happening. There was the XRP convention, or, in Vegas over the weekend, and there was a lot that happened there. I'm actually going to be bringing Rob Cunningham back on to talk a little bit more about that. So
Yep.
I think people should get excited. We are definitely closer today than we were yesterday, the day before, and 5, 6, 7 years ago. So I just think people I know people hate the word patience, but the reality of it is we've got to have some patience, because it's coming. And if you listen to Kim Clement's prophecy, David Nino Rodriguez had it on with Bo Pony this morning. Uh, it's spot on, everybody. I think this could potentially be the year that we see what we've been, researching and hoping for, right?
Yeah.
And screaming at the top of our lungs. I mean, so much of it already is coming to fruition, just like you said with Donald Trump, truthing out what he talked about with Joe Biden being shot, executed in 2020. So that's just a crumb of everything that we've been researching and saying, everybody. And with him doing that, Donald Trump, we're getting a lot of confirmation of what we've been saying and vindication. And I'm going to say it again. Derek Johnson is a prime example of one that has been solid in what he says, staying true to what he knows, and giving us that information. He said this a long time ago about Joe Biden in his original rant, and this dude has been drugged through the mud. So I think we need to give credit where credit is due. We've all been a part of this journey. We've all been, sharing a lot of everybody's great information. So everybody pat yourselves on the back. I say that all the time because of you guys, the audience. If it wasn't for you guys, the audience, I wouldn't be the Revival of America and what it is. And Dallas wouldn't be what he is solo on his own, as well as over there on PPN. So I want to commend all of you individuals there, the audience, for being a part of us on a daily, sometimes daily basis, sometimes weekly basis for me, probably a good 3 times a week. And I'm doing, I don't know how many shows you're doing, Dallas, but I'm doing anywhere from, 4, 6, 8 a week. So yeah, that's a lot in between my daily gig.
Yeah, I mean, on a given week, I do on average 10 shows a week, right? And all of them are an hour to an hour and a half, and it's a lot of work. It's a lot of, people are like, well, you just talk. Well, I mean, I look back at like, oh gosh, my brain kind of slows down in the afternoon. Was it not Ross Perot? Who was the commentator that had the golden mic, who passed away just a year and a half ago?
The
Uh,
Golden Mike commentator.
yeah, he was friends with Trump. Oh my gosh, what's his name? Uh,
Ooh, I don't know.
man, he was. They say that he was the lead singer of the Doors. Uh,
Rush Limbaugh.
yeah, Rush Limbaugh. Sorry, I don't know how that dude did 4 or 5 hour shows every day and just talking, right? It is exhausting to just talk for an hour or
Yeah.
two or three every single day. And every day I do at least two shows. I mean, for the most
Well,
part.
you know
Um,
what that is, Dallas? That's people that have the gift of gab. That's not me. I'll talk and whatever, but I'm not one that can just carry on a conversation for hours and hours. And for me, in my mindset, with my audience, just with my day job, marketing, and sales, and what I know about that, you lose people's attention span if you go on too long. That's why I'll do the max at 2 hours, but I try to keep them an hour to 90 minutes because at some point people are like, you've just lost them, right? So yeah, I don't know how people do these. I mean, I sit there over on some of these X spaces and they go on for hours. I hear sometimes, oh, we've been on here for 12 hours. I'm like, what the heck? Like that's just crazy to me. Like I got other shit to do, people, but that's just insanity. I mean,
but
some
the
people don't
the
sleep doing these damn X spaces.
Oh, well, that's why I stopped doing like the talk time stuff at night and things like that, because one, I kept getting myself in trouble because I would just get a little too free willy and say something I wasn't supposed to say. But the research that it takes to be able to do, like that's the part people don't grasp is, oh well, he did a show. Well, okay, well, how did he have enough content to talk for 3 hours, right? I mean, the 10 shows or so I do a week, I mean, there's the whole rest of my day is filled up with research and and finding this and digging into this and falling down this rabbit hole. And and what's crazy is that I love learning. I love history. That's why I love listening to Phil McConnell so much, and all the others you have on the show. That's one of the reasons that I like 107, because he has a huge knowledge of history that is not publicly noted, right? I mean, it's you gotta you gotta have some pretty big shoes. Do I agree with everything he's ever said? No, I've disagreed with him publicly. I'm one of the few people that has ever disagreed with him openly on a show. And and unfortunately it's happened a couple times, but I still respect him, and I respect those that put in that work. we take so much of this for granted being a spectator, but and I'm not putting myself on any pedestal. And again, I'm not a guru. I never have been. I don't consider myself to be. I am a person that has an in-depth knowledge of finance, and I stumbled across this currency stuff and realized that it wasn't a scam, that it was real. And I have devoted the last 5 years of my life learning everything I can about it and trying to find the stinking truth. and I think we're about to come to the end of this part of the journey. And the word that God gave me this morning, I've had some really interesting conversations. I make fun of my wife a lot. I don't make fun of her. I pick on her a lot. On different, this podcast, because it's me talking, but I've had some really interesting and really good conversations with my wife over the last couple of days, really last week, as we're struggling, and this isn't a plea for money or support or anything, but she was unemployed for over a month, and she's finally kind of gone back to work, sort of, but she knows all this to be real. She understands our government is in trouble and corrupted. She understands that the elections have been stolen. She understands that COVID wasn't what they said it was, and that the shots weren't what they said they were. And she's awake, but this money stuff is just a little bit too much pie in the sky for her. She is only concerned with our budget and our account. do do we have enough money to pay our bills? That's all she cares about. Um, but we've had some really, really good conversations because things are changing, and I actually have some things to share with her, and some optimistic hopes, that are coming in the near future. But the words that were given to me this morning was humility, humbleness, which are kind of the same thing, but I kind of put them in a different category. And then reverence, I had a better word, but contentment with the blessing that we get. And I've said this on this podcast a lot. What I have kind of learned, possibly, and again, this is very speculative, but some of the numbers that we've been given on these currencies, might be a little bit higher, or just mathematically not possible, right? Um, Again, I won't mention names when I refer to these things, because I don't believe in putting other people down, and I'm not here to really disparage anybody else unless they're selling something. If they tell you something scary and then immediately followed up with, but you can avoid that by buying this trust or buying this product, or you can't give your humanitarian project unless you pay me $400 and let me run it through Chat GPT and spit out a really eloquent version of it, right? You don't have to pay $400. Just go to Chat GPT, type in your humanitarian project,
You can do
and
it yourself.
yeah, and it will spit it out, and it will be the exact thing that these other people are charging hundreds and hundreds of dollars for, because that's all they're doing. But
And this is
uh,
why I say, everybody, be careful who you're following, what you're listening to, and what you're putting into your mind, because people are getting scammed still to this day. And I
yeah,
think even more so now, because there are so many people jumping on the bandwagon. And yeah, it's just BS, everybody.
and
So be careful.
we're all desperate, right? We're all desperate for the truth. We're desperate for the corruption to be weeded out and to be fixed. My hashtag that I came up with a couple of years ago was, hashtag handcuffs and perp walks. Like, hey, guess what? We're actually starting to see that happen. We're seeing judges that are illegally and unconstitutionally blocking President Trump's ability to be the commander in chief and the president of the United States. They're being arrested. They're being held accountable. We're seeing literally hundreds and hundreds, 1,500 just this last week, were arrested by ICE, of illegal immigrants that are in this country because of Joe Biden's open borders. And the number of felonies that are connected to those 1,500 just this last week that were arrested in one particular sting, I mean, they're in the thousands, they're in the tens of thousands of felonies that include horrible, horrible things: rape, children, trafficking, drugs, and they're being arrested, and we're starting to see it. Somehow it doesn't necessarily make mainstream media, but because we're tied into the non-mainstream media, we're tied into the truth media, we're starting to see this, and that gives me hope. But You know, there's one particular person that says that the dinar is going to go for the price of oil. Well, the price of oil is down, right? But at one point it was almost $100. We're not going to get $100 per dinar. That's not going to happen. It's mathematically impossible. And without speaking about specific currencies, I'll give an example, right? And this is my kind of my warning to be um, happy with what we get, right? Because whatever we get is going to be more than we've ever had before. But the golden dragons, right? Um, if you have a box of golden dragons, there's 1,000 bonds in that box. They're sequential, they're in order, they're vetted, they're verified, and if you get that thousand bonds in that box, it's worth roughly $2 billion. Well, if you take 2 billion and you divide it by 1,000, it's about $500,000 a bond, right? So if somebody claims that you're going to get millions and millions of dollars off of one golden dragon bond, that doesn't mathematically make sense, because if a whole box of sequential verified bonds are worth 2 billion, then that means each one of them individually is worth no more than 500,000. But guess what? We don't have, most of us, right? I don't have a box of 1,000. I have 10. I didn't even buy them. They were given to me by one of my followers as a gift out of, just thanks and all that stuff. But if I don't have the box, then I'm not getting 2 billion, which means they're not individually worth 500,000. They're probably going to be worth a couple 100,000 at best, right? So the Zim, if you put that in, you got to consider that, we're not going to get one for one. I've said that openly. There's no possible way we're getting $100 trillion for our $100 trillion Zim note. That's because there's only like $87 trillion of loose currency in the world as it stands, right? And the analogy that I thought of this morning was our national debt is $36 trillion. So if I have one Zim note, you're going to give me almost 4 times, at the worst, 3 times the national debt. Well, guess what? I don't have one. What if I have 5? What if I have 10? You're going to give me $250 billion, which is, you know, 100 times the national debt? That doesn't mathematically make sense. There's not even $100 trillion in loose currency in the world. Does that make sense? Are you tracking what I'm saying?
Yes.
So what if we don't get, you know, and I have said some pretty high numbers on these currencies, right? But I've never said $100 for a dinar. The most that I've ever heard and felt kind of confident about was 28. But what if we don't get 28? What if we don't get 20? What if we don't get 15? What if we get 481, which is, that exploded last week on the internet and Telegram? What if we get $4? Right? Before it was devalued, the dinar was worth 322, 326. What if we get $3? Right? What if it revalues at less than what it was before it was devalued 25 years ago? Well, if you have a million dinar, that's $3 million. Do you know how much money you would have to make an income to equal $3 million? You would have to earn $100,000 a year for 30 years, never pay taxes on any of it, and never spend a dime, and you would end up with $3 million. So we have the ability to turn in a million dinar that you paid somewhere between 1,100 and 1,500 for, for the most part. I think I paid 1,350 for mine, but you paid $1,000 for a million, and I get to turn that in for 3 million. Well, that's more money than I would have earned in the next 30 years, right? So the being gratitude, right? Being gracious with whatever we walk away from this with. I think that's way more important than going in and saying, well, no, I was told by guru so and so, right? And now I'm not going to gurus, but that it was worth $18. Well, no, I'm giving you 3. Well, I want 18. Okay, well then you don't get anything, right? Are you willing to walk away from $3 million because somebody told you something that they couldn't verify and they couldn't vet, and at the time may or may not have been true, but it isn't true at the time of redemption. So I just want us to be cautious, and I want us to be mentally ready for, it to be a huge blessing, but maybe not exactly what we've been told. Does that make sense?
Yes. So basically, what he's saying, everybody, don't set your expectations so high up here to where when we get the information, it may not be what you want, and now you're pissed off. Just know that everything that we get, is going to be more than what we've ever had, right? So,
Yeah.
yes, I get I say that to my audience all the time. Everybody sets their expectations so high because of what they hear and this, that, and the other. But when it doesn't happen, they're pissed off, they're mad. And, but at the end of the day, that kind of goes on the individuals because you're setting your you never set expectations, everybody. You never, ever do that because 9 times out of 10, you're going to be disappointed because your expectation isn't met. So don't do that. I tell my audience that all the time because I'd rather you not set that expectation and be happy than set that expectation and not be happy. So yeah, I get 100% what you're saying. So, yep. Do you want to go into some questions? You want
Yeah,
to do that? We
yeah,
got a few of them here going. All
yeah,
right.
yeah. Let's dive in. That was enough for me yapping.
Oh, no, you're good. Trust me, you were missed. Like, when's the house coming on? So, okay, so I'm gonna read a couple here on the board, and then I'll go to the hands here. So it says from Debbie Lou, do you still think the med beds will be released when the RV happens? Thank you and God bless.
I do. That's actually on my list to dig into a little bit, because there are lots of different groups that claim to have direct access. There are lots of people that just talk out the side of their neck, but that is on my list to ask to verify. But I do believe that it's tied one in the same, right? I mean, it's because it doesn't matter if we all have a bunch of money, if we all are going to die in a couple of years because we've been poisoned our whole lives, right? So there's got to be, in order for this financial blessing to be utilized in the best way possible, we've got to be healed. And I think the med beds are the way that happens, and that extends our lives. Are we going to live for hundreds of years? I don't know. That would be cool, I guess. Maybe. I don't know. But I believe wholeheartedly that the med beds are directly tied to this blessing.
Thank you, Dallas. Okay, I'm gonna kind of go back and forth from the wall to the hands here. So Earl, Hal, your mic is unmuted. Go ahead.
Thank you, Denny.
Of
Dallas, I
course.
kind of answered my question. Kind of, I had couple of friends that I told about foreign currency, and they bought some Zim, both of them. One bought into trillions, and one bought into the billions. And I've always heard that you had to have 100 trillion just to get like 31 million.
I again, I've been putting some math to this, and I don't think it's going to be that much. I think it's going to be amazing, but I don't think it's going to be in the multiple millions per Zim. I think it's going to be probably more in the realm of hundreds of thousands, possibly, possibly a million. But even at that, right? When I bought my Zims, I was looking last week, and I popped onto a currency distributor, and they were selling $100 trillion Zims for almost 600 bucks, right? When I
Right.
bought mine all those years ago, I think the most that I ever paid was just under 200 bucks, but the majority of them were about 125 to 150 bucks. But if I spent 150 bucks, let's say I spent 500 bucks to buy 100 trillion, and let's say I get a million, right? Well, that is still a huge return. And again, if I only have one, how long would it have taken me in my real life to earn $1 million? It's going to take decades, right? Unless you make, multiple hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, it's going to take you 20, 30, 40 years to earn $1 million. If you earn, if you have a job and you make $50,000 a year, it would take you 30 years to earn $1.5 million. And again, that's if you never paid taxes on it and you never spent a dime. It would take you 30 years of earning $50,000 a year to equate to $1.5 million. So if I spend $500 on a Zim and I turn it in and I get $1 million, well, I just shortcutted, I just shortcut 30 years of slaving away in the system. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
and I know that it's a hard pill to swallow, because for as long as I've been in this, we've heard anywhere from a minimum of 11 million up to ridiculous numbers, right? One for one, right? Again, the first time I ever heard that, I was like, that's mathematically impossible. Again, there's only $87 trillion in circulation in the world. All the global currencies equal to less than $90 trillion. How are we going to get 100 trillion off of one bill, right? It doesn't make sense. We're going to be
Well,
richer than the entire world, right?
yeah,
So
I told them that they probably wouldn't even get $1 million, but that's something you didn't have now.
correct, right? And so that's the benevolent part of this, right? Would it be cool to have 11 million? Sure. But then this is the other question that I've been pondering in my own brain. What, let's say I have 10, right? Let's say I have 10 Zims and I get $1 million. Well, that's $10 million. How am I going to spend $10 million if if I don't drastically change my lifestyle, right? If I just maintain my lifestyle, that $10 million would last me forever, right? This
Right.
is the problem. And this is literally why I got into this movement. If you go and research lottery winners, 94.5% of lottery winners within 4 years are dead broke or worse off financially than they were before they won the lottery, right? And I don't care if they won $100,000, if they won $1 million, if they won 100 million, if they, there was one guy that walked away with $500 million, $500 million. Statistically, that guy is going to be dead broke or worse off or in jail or dead within 4 years, because we have no idea how to handle large sums of money. So we need to be benevolent. We need to be, thankful for the blessing, whatever the number is, because it's going to be more money than we've ever had before. Um, and I just, I don't know. I really feel compelled to not lower expectations, but just try to rationally set um, maybe more grounded expectations, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. And I thank you for your time, Dallas and Janet. Jenny, I'll yield. Thank you.
Thank you. Back to you, Jenny.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. Blue Fact, go ahead. Your mic is unmuted. You can ask Dallas your question.
Well, Dallas, it's good to hear from you. And if you're a guru, well, then I'm your number one guru fan.
Well, thank you.
And listen, I just wanted to tell you it's good to hear your voice. We haven't heard you in a while. I do see good things happening. Me personally, I wouldn't worry about what someone gives you as title. Me personally, I have gone to Dallas's church. I had the privilege of listening to Pastor Jay, which was probably one of the best sermons I ever heard. And in my life, personally, it was a really good one. So, Dallas, I just say, keep what you're doing. Take all the titles that they give. Can you imagine what they gave Jesus back in the day, titles?
Absolutely.
So, guru is, if that's the worst they call you, brother, like I said, I'm your number one guru fan. I appreciate all you've done, and look forward to hearing and seeing what's happening in the future. God bless, brother.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right. Let's see. Pam Mimi, are you still here? I muted your mic. Go ahead, Pam. Your mic's unmuted. Go ahead, Pam Mimi. Your mic is unmuted.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to touch the button. Excuse me.
Okay, thank you. All right. Double A Flight 151. Your mic is unmuted. Go ahead and ask Dallas your question.
Thanks, Jenny. Don't really have a question. I was just going to say it was Rush Limbaugh that he was looking for back in the beginning. And, you speak truth, both of you, right? That's half the reason why people come back and want to listen to you and hear what you have to say, because you're speaking the truth. And as far as that goes, the nothing can stop what's coming. We are the nothing can stop what's coming. Get it through your head. We put him in the first time, the second time, and the third time, and probably a couple of more times. So God bless. Thanks.
Really. I will share
Thank
something
you.
about that sentiment. Last Sunday, I speak for about 10 minutes at the beginning of the service before Dr. J comes on usually. I did do the whole service a couple weeks ago, 3 or 4 weeks ago. But I had this epiphany when I was sitting, we were doing praise and worship, and we've always heard, the famous quote from President Trump. He's got all the generals and they're standing there, and Trump says, you don't even know what you're looking at. And the reporter says, what are we looking at? And he says, the calm before the storm. What storm, Mr. President? You'll see, right? And in the truther world, in our world, we are looking for the calm before the storm. But in the spiritual world, it's the opposite, right? It's always the storm before the calm. And the analogy I gave was Jesus and the disciples as they're crossing the sea in the boat, and all of a sudden the storm comes up and the waves are crashing over, and the wind is blowing, and all the disciples are freaking out. They're all, we're gonna die. And what is Jesus doing? Jesus is asleep in the bow of the boat. He's asleep in the front of the boat, right? And they come frantically and they wake him up, Master, Master, Master. And Jesus, can you imagine being just in the most like sublime sleep of the last couple of days, the last couple of weeks, and then your goofy disciples come and wake you up, and he says, "What's wrong?" And they're like, "We're gonna die." And Jesus kind of rebukes them. He was like, "Do you not know who you're with? Like, we're not gonna die. I'm on the boat, dummy." But Jesus stands up and he calms the wind. He calms the wind. He calms the storm. He calms the waves and he calms the rain. But in our world, in the Christian faith, it is always the storm before the calm, right? And I believe that we are smack dab in the middle of the storm. And what's about to come is the calm afterwards. And it doesn't have anything to do with the money, but the money is going to help us then go out into the world and fix all of the destruction and all of the aftermath of this storm that we've been weathering for decades. And I don't know, it was the weirdest thing. I just had such a calm, ironically, um, as that came into my mind. And I shared that at church and got a lot of positive feedback, because that is literally what's happening, right? Is we're smack dab in the middle of the storm. It's so chaotic, it's so crazy. The stuff that I read and the stuff that you guys read that's going on in our government and our spending and Doge and the world, it is pure chaos. But we are in the storm, and what comes next is the calm. And that calm is the calm of Jesus Christ and the calm of faith and the calm of humanity. And we are going to go and we're going to rebuild this world in the image of heaven on earth. And I just, I want to share that with you, because it really gave me a huge sense of peace, because this world can destroy us if we let it. But we've got to stay positive. We've got to stay prayed up, and we've just got to continue to seek the truth and continue to help those around us, even if it's just a smile or a wave or holding a door or giving $5 to the guy on the corner. We just got to do what we can do in the interim. And then when this blessing comes, no matter what the numbers are, right? Because one of the things that I hear is that, they're going to take 50% of our money through taxes, and not taxes, but fees and this thing and that thing. Again, if they take half, well, the half that I get is more than I was going to have anyway. So let's be gracious and go change the world.
Amen. And I do have to say too, also everybody, with all the noise and everything that's going on out there, a lot of people are complaining about the Congress and how we're seeing, these rhinos, and they're, the quote is, people in Trump's cabinet, why does he have them? They're not good. This, that, and the other. You have to remember, you have to let these people do the crime so they can do the time. It's called exposure, and it is happening big time. We are seeing the pieces of cruds to the core, like what Lindsey Graham just recently did with Ukraine, gave I think over $1 million for them to start doing what they're doing with these drones over there. So they're really truly showing themselves, everybody. They're showing themselves within the Truther movement. The more they talk, the more they expose themselves. So pay attention to that, everybody. Also, too, I'll refer again, if you guys didn't watch David Nino Rodriguez's show today with Bo Pony, it was very, very good. And basically what Bo Pony is saying is we are now in the good part of this battle, right? And it's just going to continue to get better. I do still think we're going to see some bumpy roads, like, Juan always tells us, scare event, nuclear like scare event. How does that play out? What's it going to be? Who knows? But remember, not everything you see is what it is. Things aren't always as it seems. So don't always believe this video of this, that, or the other. I put something on my wall earlier about it. It's amazing the things that they can do with effects. So uh, got to get your minds right, everybody. You got to be prepared for certain things to be able to wrap your minds around it, because your mind's a powerful tool. It will play games on you, but just know things aren't always as they seem. We are in the exposure stage. We're seeing a lot of these people be exposed, from the Truth Movement to the Congress to just local mayors. The arrests are happening. There was a guy that was just arrested from Climax, Georgia, I think is what it's called. He's a mayor he had all kinds of counts of child porn. I put that on my wall as well. So everybody, things are happening. So don't believe the naysayers out there. And there's many of them saying shit isn't happening. Why aren't the arrests happening? Well, what arrests are you talking about? We already had Ghislaine Maxwell. We have had 4 of the biggest arrests that could bring it all down. Diddy, Epstein, Weinstein, Ghislaine Maxwell. Well, I mean, come on. This just opens up the door for so much other things. So get excited, everybody, because we really are winning this battle. Okay, Brenda. Let's see. Brenda, are you still here? I don't see her. Brenda Fulco. She's gone. Okay, Sonia Polke, you're here. Go ahead. Your mic is unmuted. Go ahead, Sonia.
Sorry.
Are you there, Sonia? Go ahead. Did she say sorry?
Well, I see her mic open. I can't hear her though.
Yeah, I can't either. All right. Can you speak, Sonia? Okay. Brenda Fulco, your mic is unmuted. Go ahead. Brenda Fulco, do you have a question for Dallas? Your mic is unmuted.
And Sonia just raised her hand again. Maybe she got it fixed.
Go ahead, Sonia. Go ahead, Sonia. Your mic is unmuted. I need my Jeopardy. All right, Sonia. Going once, going twice. I'm gonna have to go on to the next one. All right, best press. Your mic is unmuted. Go ahead.
Thank you, Jenny, and thank you, Dallas, for always being here. Because I do trust you the most, and there are so many trolls out there, I do listen like Jenny just to see what these people are saying. But in your opinion, what do you think the lowest rate the Zim would go for? Because, you get these people telling you so much, and I just listen just because I'm like Jenny. I want to hear all the nonsense that these people are saying. I followed Jenny since the very beginning, along with Derek, and I've read both his books, but I'm just wondering, what do you think?
You want my honest opinion?
Yes.
I think we're going to get somewhere between 500,000 and $1 million per Zim, is what I think, and that's based on math, numbers that I've been given, that I don't want to necessarily share out because I don't think it's mine to share, but the math that I've been given says somewhere between 4 to 500,000 at the low end, maybe a little less, but I think 4 is probably the lowest, to $1 million. And I, it hurts my heart to say it, but I would rather us be mentally prepared to than to walk in and think we're going to get 50 or 60 million and then be like 500, like what? But again, most of us, some do, right? And my friend Trina has like 700,000 dinar, right? Like I'm a weird guy. I buy things in equal numbers. I odd numbers bother me for some reason, but most people don't have one bill period, right? You might have one Zim, but you have $1 million dinar or $1 million dong, or you have 500 million Boulevard because it costs you, $25, so, but 4 to 500 at the low end, possibly up to 1 million. And I pray and I hope I'm wrong, but the math that I was given, that's what kind of that's why I use the example of the Golden Dragons. Mathematically, it doesn't make sense. We're not going to get, $5 million per Golden Dragon because you only get 2 billion for a whole box that's verified and vetted. And if you divide 2 billion by 1,000, it's right around 500,000. And that's again, that's if you had a whole box. So if you have Golden Dragons, and I know I just changed currencies, but I'm giving you the rationale of why I'm saying what I'm saying. If I don't have a whole box, that means that it's not worth 2 billion for the whole box, which means if I have an individual Golden Dragon, it's probably not going to be worth 500,000, because the only way I would get the 500,000 per Golden Dragon is if I had a whole box of sequential thousand, if I had 1,000 of sequential Golden Dragons. Does that make sense?
Yes, and anything is a blessing. So I definitely agree with that. Thank you very much, Jenny, and thank you, Dallas.
Thank you, Best Press. Thank you. Thank you. All right, Dallas, I'm going to read a couple here off the wall. Okay, so New Envy says, "Hi, Dallas and Jenny. Thanks to keeping the show going on. Dallas, building your teams. Are you yet in touch with financial advisors in Switzerland or France? Thank you both for sharing your beautiful energy."
Great question. Not directly, but I have been working for the last 2 years to build an international kind of coalition. I don't know a better word, or an international group of financial advisors and people that I believe we can trust. Um, at some point, I'm going to have to leave the country for a little bit. And when I'm out of the country, that is one of the primary things that I will be doing, is solidifying financial help and financial options for the rest of the world. Because right now, if you're a financial advisor in the United States, if you work for any of the major, the what I consider to be major firms, um, you're limited to only operating in the United States, right? If, for instance, I had clients that were from Mexico, but they had legal residence in the United States. The only way and the only reason I could work with them is because they had legal residence in the United States. If they didn't have legal residence, then I couldn't help them because of the regulations and the restrictions of the SEC and FINRA and all the other regulatory agencies that govern, financial planning in the United States. But I have been working, and I feel like I have a really solid contact. So as of right now, I don't have anyone that I could aim you at or steer you towards. But at some point, hopefully sooner than later, I will be traveling abroad to finalize some of those relationships and some of those, not negotiations, but some of those relationships, and I'll be able to share that at that point.
Thank you, Dallas. Okay, here's another one. It's from Lori Betty. "Should we invest some of our money into silver after the RV? I thank all of you for your time and keeping us informed."
I've talked about this, several times in the past. If we can get in before it skyrockets, absolutely, right? And even after the fact, having gold or silver in your portfolio, no matter what the cost, if you have the money to afford it, is not going to be a bad investment, because especially when we get pegged, right? When the USN, the new US note, which is going to be an asset-backed currency, when that happens, then gold and silver will, one, exponentially increase in value, but it will also be a fixed resource, right? It'll be not a resource, a fixed um, tool. I just lost the word I was trying to say, but my objective is, as soon as I have some money, whether it's a ton or a little bit, I'm going to buy specifically as much silver as I can get my hands on. But I also literally just yesterday or today was like, I need to buy some gold too. I think it will be a solid investment that will be a very stable investment right? We're hearing all kinds of, words in the crypto world of stable coins and all that stuff. Well, the only reason that makes them stable is because they're going to be backed by a physical asset. And whatever that asset is going to have intrinsic value. That's the word I was trying to think of earlier. So it would not be bad to have that in your portfolio because it will be stable and it will be intrinsic because it will be tied to the global currencies. All right. The BRICS nations are all going asset backed, meaning primarily gold and silver, but rare earth metals and things like that, oil. So I think it would very much be worth having at least a part of your 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 newfound portfolio in gold and silver and you know palladium and all that other stuff.
Thank you, Dallas. All right, everybody. So I just posted to the bottom of the wall, everybody, the Nino show today with Bo Pony. I watched it. It was very good. Thank you, MM, for sending that to me. It is on the bottom of the wall, everybody. I highly suggest you guys watch it. It's very encouraging and great information. All right, so let's go to Julie LaPlante. Your mic is unmuted. Go ahead. Go ahead, Julie LaPlante. Your mic is unmuted.
Okay, thank you very much. Dallas, came in late, so I'm not sure if you answered this question. With the Zim, are they still saying you go to the med beds after you go to the redemption center sooner than everyone else, or do you have any idea?
I mean that's been the consensus, but I don't know that to be factually true. But I do think the med beds are tied to the exchange. I mean to the redemption of currencies. Um, I believe within a year, 2 years at the max, every single one of us will have access to a med bed. But if you have critical issues or, they've always kind of tied the humanitarian efforts to the med beds, specifically in reference to the Zim. Um, and I said it before, the reason that I think the med beds are tied to the exchange is because, you know, not to be, cryptic or anything, but the average age of most of those that are following this movement in the crypto or not crypto in the foreign currency world, the average age is something like 67, right? So it it wouldn't really do the world much good if we all got this money and then we all passed away in the next 5 to 10 years because of old age, right? So I don't know that it gives you a fast pass, but if nothing else, I mean, one of the primary things that I will do once I have some money in the bank is I'm going to pay a ton of attention to my physical health, right? I'm going to hire a trainer, I'm going to hire a nutritionist. I'm going to start trying to get as much like real organic food as possible, whether it be beef or vegetables or whatever. So I think it will be critical for us to take the best care of ourselves as possible. But I also believe that we will get access to the med bed sooner than later. But I don't exactly know because the sources that make some of those claims, I don't necessarily know where the information is coming from. And again, I'm not not trying to be derogatory, but if your main source is the Galactic Federation and they speak to you in your dreams and that's where all of your intel comes from, I question the validity of some of that, right? Again, I'm not necessarily saying that I don't think that could be real. I just, if that's your main source, then I don't know how much I can put faith in that in the physical realm, right? But I do think med beds will be closely tied to the exchange.
Thank you, Dallas. All right, Oxy Texan, your mic is unmuted. Go ahead.
Hi, Dallas. Hi. I was just wanting to know, I'm kind of at that retirement age, and I've been following y'all for 5 or 6 years, and I have bought silver and I've bought the dong. Is it too late to get into buying Zims? And do you feel like at my age, which I'm not old, but I am 70, so at my age, is it too late to invest also in the Zims?
No, I mean, I got, I get notifications almost daily from the currency exchange sites, Banknote World, Great American Coin, 100trillions.com of specials, right? And discounts and things like that. And until that turns off, it's not too late. So if you have some disposable income and you can, you can put some money into it. Again, my only caveat to that is I don't want you to go buy a bunch of Zims and then not be able to buy groceries or not be able to pay for your medication or not be able to pay your electric or, mortgage, right? Don't, too many people got real excited early on, which is why so many people are hurting right now. And they spent money that they couldn't afford to spend. And trust me, I mean, I did it too, right? In different instances, but if you have some disposable income, then yeah, it's not too late. As of today, I got a notice from Banknote World and from 100trillions.com. So they're still selling. You can still buy them.
Awesome. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you, Oxytocin. Okay, let's see. Phil, sorry, Phil Seiler, however you say it. Your mic is unmuted. Go ahead, Phil.
Hello.
Hello.
Oh, hi. Hey, listen, I was just wondering, I'm awake as probably you can get, but my son, daughter-in-law with their 3 toddler kids there in the Dallas area, out there in Denton, they're not awake, and I'm just wondering, they're struggling like crazy, like all young people. She's a teacher, he coaches, still can't make it, and I can't really encourage them about the future because they don't buy into any of this. Can you tell me that their future's looking good, please, so I can stop worrying?
Yes. I am the most positive and the most optimistic that I probably ever been. And God willing, this doesn't bite me in the ass, in about 28 days. But I think this is the month where we can see some major movement. And if nothing else, gives us a little bit more of a finite window of when the blessing might come. But I'm very optimistic about what's happening in the world, economically and financially. My wife, again, we had a really good conversation even last night, and we're talking about, again, my wife doesn't necessarily believe in the currency stuff. She thinks it's kind of a whisper in the wind kind of thing, but she also knows that I believe it with all of my heart. And so her belief is purely based off of my faith in this particular instance. But we were talking about, my best friend who is struggling right now. He is also, him and his wife were both teachers. And I said, they're never going to work again. They're never going to have to. I'm going to help them. I'm going to take care of them. I'm going to take care of your parents. My wife's parents have given us some money here recently in the last month because we are hurting a little bit. We're going to pay them back, and I'm going to pay them back in spades. If they gave me $2,000, I'm not going to give them $2,000. I'm going to give them 200,000. But I definitely think there's some very, very positive things coming down the pipeline. Again, I don't have a window that I want to share, but I think by the end of this month, we should have a much better idea where we're standing and where we're, kind of what's next. So I would stay positive and just keep praying for them. And when the blessing comes to you, then you can share it with them, and then they'll be forced to open their eyes. Plus, shoot, if Trump's saying that Joe Biden was executed in 2020 openly, at some point, mainstream media has to talk about it. They have to, right? So we just got to stay positive for more disclosure.
Thank you, Dallas. All right, Bearded Patriot, your mic is unmuted. Go ahead.
Hey Dallas, how you doing, my friend?
Good, brother.
Hey, let me ask you a question. Have you ever heard anything down on the pipeline as far as notifications being kind of changed out there from emails directly from the people that we buy the currency from to a text or a phone call from the actual U.S. Treasury, or have you heard anything else like that at all? Because I got kind of wind of it about week, 2 weeks ago, and I think it's kind of hogwash. So I just wanted to ask you what your thoughts were.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm hearing all kinds of weird things too. Not weird, just different, right? If you bought currency from a reputable dealer, you had to provide your email, and that's part of the vetting process. So they have your email. So could it come from them? Sure. Um, have they probably sold or given those emails to the Treasury or the big banks? More than likely, yes. Right. I mean, I've heard that people are getting as much as $4 per email. So some of these agricultural sites that we've also, and I've signed up for them all, right? I mean, they have all my emails, but is it going to come from the bank? Is it going to come from the Treasury? Is it going to come from the dealers themselves? Is it going to be some kind of just public notice that's given out to those agricultural sites? I don't know. I was told from somebody that claims to have direct insight into redemption centers that there are 5 to 6 um, redemption center call centers across the United States specifically. This is purely for the United States, but I would assume that it would function somewhat similarly in the other countries. But there are 5 to 6 regional call centers that we will call. They'll verify information with readily accessible information, right? That is easily found on the internet. And then at that point, they'll then either give you another 800 number or they will send you some kind of direct link to the redemption center close to you or where you want to go. That process makes a whole lot of sense because to me, but again, that was told to me by somebody that I believe, because I have to kind of take them at their word, but I believe, has somewhat inside information on the redemption centers or the process. But could it be completely different? Absolutely. But I do know this, that when it does happen, I mean, this week, I'm sure you guys have read it on different channels, so and so went into a bank and tried to redeem their dinar, right? One of our followers on Hero he sent us a message and said he was taking his dinar into the bank to redeem it. And I said, okay, well, good luck. Let me know how that works out. It didn't work out, right? But when it happens, I mean, it's going to spread through our channels like wildfire. And we just, again, we got to be smart. We got to be intelligent. I'm not giving information. I will verify information. I'm definitely not giving them serial numbers or anything like that. I mean, but there is a vetting process, right? But the same process if you called a bank right now. If you called Chase and said, I want to open up a bank account, or if you went on to Chase's app or Wells Fargo app and open an account, you're going to have to verify information. But that information is readily accessible on the internet. So provide that information and then go through the process and just keep your antennas up and as we get into it, when I find out and I know the process for sure, I will share it one way or the other. Like I'll figure out a way to get the information out to where that it's coming from me. Whether it's through Jenny or it's through something else. But I at this point I'm just waiting. I'm just I've heard so much, and it seems to about every 6 months for some reason the whole process seems to change. um, and I'm just waiting. And once we know, we'll know.
All right. I
Thank
appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dallas. Thank you, Bearded Patriot. All right, let's see. Valerie S., your mic is unmuted. Go ahead. Or Valerie L., I apologize. Go ahead. Your mic is unmuted.
Hello, thank you. Real quick, they were speaking about the silver previously, buying it once the RV maybe happens. Is that double dipping, Dallas, or not? Thank you.
No, because again the double dipping, right? So again, most of that double dipping came from people that were trying to sell something else, right? They're trying to sell trust. They're trying to sell. If let's say Iraq goes first, right? I don't think I honestly I think it kind of all goes together. But who's to say that one currency doesn't go Monday, another currency goes on Tuesday, so on and so forth, right? Or maybe another currency goes 3 days later. If I redeem my currency for one type of currency and then I have money and I can still go purchase other currencies, is that double dipping? Maybe, but I think the process is going to be different than we think. But silver and gold, those are hard assets, right? You can buy silver and gold anytime you want. Now, could it possibly be, 100 times more expensive? Possibly, but again, if you have more money, then you can buy, some of it. But we just got to kind of keep an eye. But I don't consider gold and silver double dipping.
Okay, I thank you. We had that's been probably a year or so ago or two maybe that I just heard about the double dipping, and I was just trying to just figure out between the two whether or not this was considered double dipping or not. But thank you both.
Thank you, Valerie. All right, Maya Joe, your mic is unmuted. Go ahead. Go ahead, Maya Joe. Your mic is unmuted. All right, Buckeye. Go ahead. Are you here, Maya Joe? All right, Buckeye Gal, go ahead. Your mic is unmuted. Buckeye Gal, are you there? Do you have a question for Dallas?
I am here, but can you hear me, or am I not doing this right?
No,
No.
we can hear you
Can you
now.
hear me?
We can hear you now.
Well, did I?
Okay, you're cutting out. Can you hear us? You may have to go out and come back
I don't
in.
know how to. Can you hear me
We
now?
can hear you now.
Okay, I'm sorry about this, guys. I've never done this before. Forgive
You're
me.
good.
I know your time's valuable. I have a couple questions, or at least one, Dallas. A couple weeks ago, you had mentioned about the HOAs for homeowners, and it's unconstitutional. Is that the same for condo HOAs, or do you know?
Well, I would say it depends on whether you own the condo, right? If you own the condo, then yes, unconstitutional. If you are part of a timeshare and there's some kind of fee or upkeep, then that's slightly a different beast. But if you own it, then it's property taxes and HOAs are all kind of tied together. You're going to charge me a fee on the property that I technically own. Well, then I don't technically own it, right? I mean,
Correct.
you pay your house off and you're still paying property taxes. Well, I paid it off. How are you taxing me on something that I physically own, right? It doesn't make sense. It's unconstitutional. So I would say yes, especially if you own your condo, then those are technically illegal.
We do own ours. There's only 8 units here where I live, and we have a small association dues or whatever. But what about like special assessments with these condos and things, or do you know anything about that? Because that would seem to be unconstitutional too.
Yeah. I don't exactly know what you're talking about, but if they're deeming that all of a sudden your property is worth $10,000 more or $100,000 more,
Okay.
how did they justify that, right? I mean, did you totally redo the whole inside? No.
Well, I think when I'm talking about like assessments, be that if there's an assessment for repairs that they have to make a special assessment that there isn't money in the budget, then they'd have to specially assess us all a certain amount to pay for the repairs. I guess that was one of the questions. And if you don't know anything, that's fine. I understand. That's no problem.
Yeah, again, I'm not a lawyer or an expert, but
Right.
if you all agree to have, say a lawn service, right? And you all agree, we're going to pay X amount a month for them to come and do all of the lawn care and the maintenance on the exterior. Well, then you are agreeing to that, but to arbitrarily charge you a fine or a penalty, that is unconstitutional. And that's also been, ruled on by the Supreme Court.
Okay. And then my next question was, does anybody out there listening, or you guys know, we keep hearing all these different channels and people saying, we've been robbed from our straw man accounts and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But they never give you any blueprints on how to go to collect it. Does anybody know of anybody that they've collected from it? And if there is a way to do that. And thank you for your time.
Yeah, there have been rumors, but I don't know of anybody that physically has done it. There are people that claim it, but I can't verify it, right? But I believe that's all part of this, that gets undone and we get access to that money. I think, to be honest with you, I think a lot of the Doge stuff and the R&R, I can't remember what he calls it, but I think that, you know, those, that's how we get our straw man money back, is through those, kind of fixed payments that they're talking about. You know,
Right.
Elon Musk talked about, universal income, and he said, I don't think it's going to be a little, I think it's going to be a lot.
Right.
Well,
And I know I didn't mean to interrupt. I know they can't really give us a date and time and stuff, but all these channels, oh, they're teaching us all this stuff. Well, why doesn't somebody give you a blueprint on what to do to go to follow through to do it, to get it? That's the frustrating thing. They all want to yap about, well, we've been stolen. Well, we know that. We've known that for 5 years. Give me a blueprint, you
yeah,
know?
yeah,
Okay.
I think it's coming. But
Okay. Thank you so much for both of your time. I appreciate it. And sorry for interrupting you with the mic. I don't know how to work this thing. Do
no,
I
no,
hit
you did.
do I hit this now when I'm done?
Yeah, turn it
Yeah,
back
just
blue.
hit the green button, it'll turn blue.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Have a great day. All right, Lisa PL, your mic is unmuted. Go ahead, ask Alice your question. Go ahead, Lisa.
Hi.
Hello.
I just want to tell you thank you so much for the time you take. You know, God's going to just bless you so much, both of you. Got to excuse me, I've got a little bit of a cold. But the gentleman that you answered his questions before, it answered mine. So thank you again.
Awesome. Well, God bless
Thank
you.
you. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you for being here, and God bless you. Go ahead, Dallas.
God bless you.
Oh, no, I'm good. I was just thanking her.
Okay, Johnny L, your mic is unmuted. Go ahead. We got about 10 more minutes, everybody, so go ahead, Johnny.
Hey, hey,
Hello.
hey, 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 hey.
Hey, hey, hey.
Jen, you know I love you. I haven't said that in about a year, but continue to follow you in Dallas. Thank you
Oh,
very
thank
much for
you.
your time, and you bet, Jen. And I sincerely mean it. I actually love you both, and actually I love a lot of people in this movement, including everyone on this call right now. And I sincerely mean it. It's just absolutely some beautiful, beautiful people with great big hearts. Uh, I got a comment to make that I wanted you to comment on, Dallas, if you don't mind.
Sure.
And it goes way back to your preliminary intro. This is what I'm going to say, and I'm going to ask what you think. I was up in arms to believe our president, duly elected president of the United States, would go out of his way on X to tell the world, mind you, about Biden. And I do what you do, by the way, Dallas. I don't know if you remember or not. I've talked to you about 2 or 3 times, but you've talked to 2 or 3 million people, so probably don't. But
Yeah.
I'll give you tons of grace on that. But anyways, my point is as I travel, I got a 4-state area: Wyoming, Colorado. I live in western Nebraska, and I shoot up to Rapid City. And I tell you what, in the last 3 days, I haven't heard one person talk about what our president posted, which basically is our new MSM. Dallas, you had referenced that you couldn't go on X fast enough to make sure that was to verify it and to make sure. And I saw the same thing. And I literally said to myself, or it was right after church, I think, or maybe it was Monday. But anyways,
It
I
was
said to
Sunday. It was
myself,
Sunday midday.
okay. I said, yeah, it was I said to myself, here we go. This is it. I mean, you can't say something like that, and he's telling the world. And I, I don't know if it's indicative of people not caring. There's so some apathy going on here, or attitude about him, or whatever. But have you? So here's my point. I'm surprised it hasn't gathered more of a. I saw their little things for the New York Post posted it, and they called it conspiracy and all that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, I haven't heard a riff. I haven't heard a lot about it, and I am beside myself. I just can't believe it. That So I wanted to know what your opinion, maybe even Jen, in terms of why that hasn't carried more weight. And thanks for listening to me.
Yeah, no, no, trust me. I mean, I've brought it up every day since Sunday on every show I've been on, because I want people to see it. I want people to know it. Um, I think that it is just a direct indicator of the MK Ultra and the mind control and how deep it goes, right? I mean, you can, the fact that mainstream media hasn't just lambasted him over this tells me that it's 100% true, and they all know it's true, which is why nobody is talking about it. Because as soon as any mainstream media comes on and says, "Did you see what President Trump posted about Biden? He said he was dead and he was killed," and then one, it validates, and that's what I said when I read that post. It immediately validated everything that we've ever thought and ever said, and that's, I think that's the key. As soon as they acknowledge it, then it validates everything. And if they can ignore it for long enough, then they think it will just go away. I, for one, am not going to let it go away. I'm going to talk about it every single day, every single podcast I'm on, until it becomes mainstream. But as soon as mainstream media acknowledges that post, then they are validating and acknowledging every other thing they have tossed into the garbage and labeled conspiracy theory. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I'll just add to this too. Fortunately, my mom doesn't. My mom and dad are both. Well, my mom's really awake. My dad's kind of semi-awake, but they're 82 and 85. So I asked my mom specifically. I said, "You know what, Mom?" I said, "If this was the 50s or 60s, because she was born in 42, my dad was born in 39." I said, "Would people?" Really get this?" She said they would. She literally said, this is her words, they would come unglued.
Mhm.
And I think, getting back to your point, Dallas, I don't know if you can get more spot on what you just said. It's between MK Ultra and maybe a few other adjectives you can throw in there, but it's astounding to me. I mean, and also, it's just pure. People are so, and I'm not making fun of them, because we're instructed to love each other. We're all in different places for whatever reason. I have to praise Jesus that he awakened me. It's not me. He did that for me.
Amen.
Just like he saved me.
Yep.
So I can't take the credit for that either. But at the end of the day, I just really just can't believe that you, you know, uh, I just can't believe that it hasn't shaken the nation, if you will. And the reason why I bring up, like, for instance, what you and I do is, like I said, the fact that, I'm in Western Nebraska in a relatively rural community, but at the same time, I'm out and about different states, and I've already been in 3 of them since that. Nothing. Nothing. And I'm saying, well, it's one thing, I can bring it up, I can bring it up whatever I want, but I want to see if I can hear it, as I'm walking down the street, or but whatever the case may be, in a coffee shop or whatever. I have to go out and grab lunch here and a sandwich, and my ears are bent kind of here, and I just haven't heard a thing. And in a way, the more I think about it, out and talking out loud, because other than my mom, this is the first opportunity I've had to talk about this out loud. And I don't want to elongate this conversation any longer, because I know we're running out of time. But like I said, it's just unfortunately where our society is right now. People are so into themselves, and it's ego, and it's this and it's that, and we have got to love one another, take care of one another.
Mhm.
I mean, and I'll stop and get off my soapbox, but most importantly, I just told my mom this the other day too. To this day, I can still think about what they've done to the children and get upset.
Yep.
And I read a post the other day, and Jenny, I don't know if it was on yours or whatever, where they said that unfortunately the worst thing that you'll experience about waking up is how much people don't care. And oh, it's it's unreal. And granted, it's not all people. I want to be careful, but I've
It,
talked to people about what happened to the children, whatever, and it's like, I'm not saying they don't care at all, but it's like the next day, it's like nothing. Really?
I mean,
Really? Little
it's
tiny little babies?
yeah, the
Oh,
problem is the word I was trying to think of earlier is cognitive dissonance, right? I mean, it's MK
yes.
Ultra mind control, but the cognitive dissonance that we are suffering through right now is exactly what you're saying. You can put the truth directly in front of them. You can show them, you can give them 100 verifiable, doctor reviews. And, I mean, I've had people ask me about, the vaccines and stuff recently, for children. Um, Sherry Tenpenny had a post on X the other day that if your child gets the full list of vaccines, they are being injected with 13,000 micrograms of aluminum, um, 2,000 micrograms of what do they put in thermometers?
Mercury?
Mercury.
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 And we all know mercury is deadly to humans, right?
Amen.
3,000
Yes.
micrograms of mercury and thousands and thousands and thousands of other carcinogenic toxins. If our children get the full gamut of the schedule, right? Did that get
Yes.
any traction? Absolutely not. Dr.
Wow.
David Martin is trying to spread the word that they're about to pull another COVID on us, right? They're going to launch some kind of, I think it's already begun, but their plan, they did a tabletop exercise last July, just like they did with Event 201, which was, Bill Gates and the WHO and the WEF and all those jackwagons. They did a tabletop in 2019, specifically referencing COVID, and then in January or February, oh, this new disease we've never heard of is taking over the world. It's cognitive dissonance. People literally don't want to accept the truth, and I don't know how we overcome that. I think we overcome that with God slapping them in the face. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, I think that's where we are, right? The scare event, we talk about it all the time. Juan talks about it, Jenny's talked about it. The scare event is not for us. The scare event is for all those dipshits, and I'm sorry to cuss, but
Oh,
it's for
you're good. You're good.
all of the idiots out there that no matter how much proof we shove in their face, they just refuse to even accept it or acknowledge it. You don't have to accept it, but can you acknowledge that there are now tens of thousands of peer-reviewed clinical studies and trials on all of this stuff on the medical side of this that refute everything, all the garbage that now we also know to be fact. All you got to do is pull up the congressional hearings with Dr. Fauci, the 6 feet thing, totally made up. They felt like they needed something, so they made it up. Well, guess what? That ties directly into Luciferian worship and rituals, right? The whole 6 foot thing. You can show them. I got banned on Facebook for 90 days because I posted the video where Joe Biden is in Ukraine and he says, if you don't fire that SOB, public defendant or public attorney that's going after his son, then you're not getting your $1 billion. And well, I'm getting on a plane in 9 hours. And guess what? They fired the son of a gun. I got banned because I posted the video of Biden saying it himself. I didn't edit it. I didn't AI it. I didn't overdub somebody else's voice or change the words. I literally posted the video. That is cognitive dissonance. That is the biggest thing that we are struggling against because it doesn't matter what you show them. They don't want to see the truth. They don't want to acknowledge the truth. This is biblical, right? Why does it say in the Bible that their eyes are covered? They have scales over their eyes where they simply can't see the truth. At some point, those scales are going to be ripped off of their eyes. And that's why the scare event, the end is not for
Has to
everyone
happen.
because there are people that are literally going to drop dead when the reality of all of this stuff that we've been trying to warn them about and trying to expose and show them, when they are faced without a shadow of a doubt with the reality, there are tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people around this world that are going to drop dead. I believe that with all my heart. And that crushes my heart.
And
Yep.
remember everybody that there's a percentage that, like Dallas says, are not going to make it because they choose not to see the truth, because their favorite president, their favorite movie star, singer, whatever, has been a part of this of the children's sacrifice, right? Or they've done this or they've done that. So I think everybody needs to wrap their minds around it. We're at the point right now where we have to show people. You can continue to talk until you're blue in the face and they're going to listen or they're not. But at this point in the game, they have to see it to believe it, and get ready, everybody. Many aren't going to believe it even still when they see it, but those that see it can't believe it. We are the ones that they are going to be coming to. So you have to be prepared for that as well. And I was going to say something to your point. I can't remember what I was going to say, but yeah. So you gotta just wrap your mind around this, guys. I mean, it is what it is. We've been preparing for this. We've been in boot camp for quite some time, and now the battlefield is among us. I don't know. I think we've been in the battlefield for a little bit, but I think
We've been in the heart of the storm. That's what I'm telling you.
yeah, we're gonna see some more rough rides, but buckle up, everybody. But behind it all, we are winning. We are winning, but with all this division, chaos, name calling that people are doing, the infiltrators, people are really missing the greatest time to be alive. Wouldn't you agree, Dallas?
100%.
And with that, everybody, Dallas typically gives us 90 minutes of his time. So, Dallas, are you going to be back in 2 weeks? We're going to see you here, same time, same place?
If I'm not, hopefully I'm in another country.
Well, if you are, I'm sure you'll let me know. So, Dallas, thank you once again for being here. God bless you. We love you, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for everything. Thank you for all the prayers and all the well wishes and just the positivity. It means literally the world to me. So thank you guys for all of it.
We love you, Dallas. Thank you so much for your time. And everybody here, God bless you. Come back later this evening over on my X Space. We will have Silk from the Diamond and Silk Show. I call it the Silk Comedy Show because she is a hoot. So with that, everybody, have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you later at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time over on my X Space. God bless everybody. Take care. Thanks, Dallas.